Dort, and I'm down to dunk. This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
I'm Josh Giddey, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, this is Kenny Hustle, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Darius Baisley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Poku, and I'm down to dunk.
I love cereal. Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm gonna share with my team, but I'm gonna hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Monday, is my good friend, Michele Barrett. Michele, what's up?
I can't stop looking at the wall in the back.
You like
There's
that?
a fresco in Andrew's room. It's the Vegas experience. Like, it's just amazing.
Oh, it is the Vegas experience. I'm in here. I'm staring at the Raiders Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas, outside of my hotel.
Boo! Oh, sorry. That's the
Not a big
Seahawks
Raiders
fan
guy.
in me. Sorry.
Man, it is an incredible place to be. I don't know how many of our listeners have been. I know Michele's been. If you're an NBA fan, you just have to go at least one time in your life to NBA Summer League, because it is like the closest experience to be with players and coaches and front office people are just wandering around, and you can just go up and chat with just about anybody. And you get to be real close to the court for a pretty cheap price. And it's just an outstanding experience. Media-wise, Warren Legary, if you don't know who Warren Legary is, he's the guy who started the NBA Summer League back in 2004. He is just kind of around. He's a character himself in all of this. And he hosts like this big media party that happened last night at the Wynn Hotel. And it was one of the weirdest environments ever. It's like everything is free. It's like tons of food, open bar, like everything is just.
Was there a ping pong game going on?
I did not witness a ping pong game going on.
Oh, okay.
But there's like a waterfall, and on the waterfall it says like NBA Summer League media party or something. I don't remember what it said, but it's like over the waterfall, and there's like all these. I don't know. Wow. It's wild. Jalen Suggs is walking through. Rui Hachimura is training with the DJ. Like, I swear, he's up there with the DJ for like 20 minutes. I actually took a photo of him. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Oh, my light's not letting me do it. But okay, there we go. This is Rui Hachimura training with the DJ. It's just like feels like a dream. Like we wake up and like, man, I was just hanging out
That was a weird dream.
I was hanging out with Tyler Parker and Shams Charania, and Rui Hachimura was training with a DJ. I mean, that's the epitome of NBA Summer League right there. It's just such a wild time, and everybody should come to NBA Summer League at least once in their life.
And I can't say who was the recipient of this sentence that I am about to say, but I had like some work that I did for Chartside, and I was there, and I just took a guy and said, "Hey, I have this research. Do you want to take a look at it?" And it was like an NBA front office guy, and he said, "Sure." Like, it was a completely random thing. And the same you can do with European basketball. Like, if you are a guy that want to make something in the league, you have to go there.
Yes.
I mean, you have to work, you have to be present on Twitter, you have to do something special, blah, blah, blah. But then being there, it's part of the deal. I remember I met Colt Swicker there.
Yep.
Who now works for the Rockets, and like many other guys who, like, sooner rather than later they started working with the team or just being around the league. So it's networking at the highest degree possible. Like, if you really want to meet everyone is there. Like, again, it's not just NBA people. I met with NBL people. I met with Korean basketball people. Like, it's Philippines.
I've connected with some NBL people since I've been here. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get the cards, you can call, you can try. I mean, we didn't make it as a chart side, but I had a lot of opportunities just for by being in Vegas at the right time
Yeah,
and knowing the right people. But that is part of have to put time in. But it's a great time and place to be if you are a basketball fan in general.
yeah, it's incredible. The Thunder played one game here in Vegas. They play tonight against the Orlando Magic. I think it's 8:00 Central, 6:00 here Pacific. That'll be an interesting game. But let's talk a little Jabari versus Chet. Jabari really wanted to make it a matchup between the two of them. One of the first plays, I think this may be like maybe the third possession of the game. Chet's got the ball. He's bringing up the court, and Jabari's yelling at his teammates. Just me on my own. Kept yelling that over and over again as Chet's getting ready to cross half court. And, credit to him, he stopped him from scoring. But I thought it was an interesting matchup because they both really are trying to feel out the kind of players they are. And obviously JDub guards him on the other end. But what were your impressions of that matchup?
I mean, it was clear that Jabari wanted to make an impression. I mean, I know that his GM said on air that he doesn't care about the results of his shot, which is fine. I don't care either, but he was really forcing it. Or maybe this is just him. Like always think 19 shots. It's probably what Jabari should do in an NBA court. Maybe with a little bit more presence at the rim. But it's summer league, it's early, and it's probably also the Chet factor. Regarding Chet, I mean, I had the impression that at times he was a little bit hesitant on taking threes. Mark Few said the same during his interview with the telecast crew. Like he could have had like a few pull-ups, but for some reason he wasn't like all that fiery in terms of 3-pointers. And I said the same on Thunder After Dark, but it's good to restate here. I think that the transition between the first half and the second one was impressive by Chet Holmgren. The first half, he was clearly feeling out how to play against a non-traditional center. Houston had 0 big men. They played Tarizon and Jabari, who could play the 3/4 in any NBA team. And he was just out of sorts in terms of how can I protect the rim? How can I be effective rebounding wise? And then boom, late second quarter and throughout the second half, he was everywhere. So it took me like by surprise the fact that, hey, he adjusted in the game in the blink of an eye, and he was super effective in the second half. I also like the fact that after a few possessions where he was guarded at the top of the key by some guy, he decided to pass the ball out, and then after a few possessions said, well, maybe I can get closer to the basket and just make a turn around hook shot, which was pure. So I really like the fact that he is feeling out without overdoing it, whereas like guys like Giddey and Mann were clearly not interested in doing less. which is completely okay. I mean, Giddey was awesome. I don't particularly care about the fact that he turned the ball like crazy or that the shot selection or shot distribution was not perfect. He has this time to be like the lead guard, period. Just have fun.
Yeah, I loved it. I want him trying stuff. I don't want him to like. Why would you play conservatively in summer league? Like it's
no reason.
It's all about trying stuff. It's all about trying to figure out what your limits are, And he's starting to figure that out a little bit, which I think is cool. I mean, the wraparound pass that he had off the drive for the Chet dunk was just like, wow. Yeah. And he and Chet are. I love that that Giddey's playing. I don't know if Giddey's going to play tonight or not. I would hope that he would, just because they're. And I would, man, if I were to make a guess, I would guess that he would play tonight, just because I think you want to play against Orlando. I think that's what you want. I don't. And if these players say like, oh, I don't care who I'm playing, I just want to go out there and try my best. No, you want to play against the number 1 pick in the draft, and you want to see what you got against him. And I think Giddey wants the same. And I also feel like there might be an element of like Giddey knows that he's going to play with Chet for a long time, and he wants to like get the ball rolling with those two as far as chemistry goes, because they don't have like the most natural chemistry together. And it's going to take some time for them to kind of figure out how to play together. And to me, a lot of that will hinge on Chet just like being willing to like just be a screen setter at times for Josh. Whereas, I mean, I've been a little surprised. Chet has kind of wanted the ball at the elbow and has wanted to go try to create. They were throwing entry passes to him a ton in that Houston game at the elbow, and then he was going and trying to create from there. I don't honestly love that much. I think it's good that he can do that. I think they were doing it a little bit too much.
You don't like the Dirk fadeaway?
What I like
Are you an NBA fan? Like,
it's not
what is happening here?
No, I want he and Josh to have some chemistry, to work together a little bit, because it would just makes Chet's job a lot easier. But the fact that Chet has all that he does in his bag already is pretty astounding. I mean, just the spin move in itself is going to be a weapon when he like truly figures out how to use it against NBA level competition and who he can do it against, who he can't. The skill stuff for him has been quite impressive. Even just watching him dribble the ball up the court the way that he has in Summer League, he just looks really fluid. I mean, that's if you just want to end the comp of like Porzingis or whoever else that people like to compare him to, just watch him grab the ball off the rim and dribble it up the court. It looks so fluid, so natural.
Yeah, ball security is not maybe where it should be in terms of like being able to really secure it against elite defender like Jabari. It was peculiar that all the guys in the telecast, both here in Vegas and in Utah, said, "Well, this is how you beat Chet Holmgren. You double him at the top of the key." Like,
yeah,
what? Like,
well,
yeah, sure, great. You're talking about doubling a guy who is 7'1" at the top of the key because you are already afraid of his live dribble creation.
He's got moves.
Yeah, he's got moves, and he will get better at that.
Yeah.
I know what you mean by saying that you don't want him to be at the elbow. I don't want him to be at the elbow in the first probably 18 seconds of the possession either.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it should be. You want him to try stuff even like that in Summer League, but I agree that the thing that we have in mind and the plan that OKC seems to have with all these creators, it's, hey, let's create something for 18. Try to create something for 18 seconds, and then if nothing works, you have Shea and Chet that can, create something for you, or you have JDub, who is an insane cutter, who can just be in the perfect place at the perfect time. I'm so impressed by JDub, which I don't like as a nickname, but I'm getting used to it. It's better than Clara. It's better than Santa. So, I know that someone is proposing Jalenate. It's too much. No one will call him Jalenate for real.
That's what.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, to be honest, I need to say this because yesterday I was texting with you and I made a very weird text that I think that it took you 3 minutes to understand what I was saying. I said, Andrew, I'm really afraid to say it out loud, but I think that Jalen Williams is similar to Andrew Robertson. And you said, on defense? I said, no, on offense. You see the cutting instincts. Michele, what are you saying? Like, no, but if you stay with me for a second, Dre was a very bad offensive player for everything except screening and cutting, which there he was one of the best in the league. He was able to make all the cuts, all the move off the ball. It was just that like no one really cared.
Mhm.
Jalen Williams seems to have the same kind of ability to read a defense and to just move at the perfect time, which
Yeah.
is such an interesting skill for a guy who I figure he was like a non-ball first kind of guy, and
Mhm.
instead his off-ball instincts are insane.
Yeah.
And right now he's not using the spot up tree, which seems to be part of his game. So
Oh,
if
it's
you
a
put
weapon.
the
Yeah.
yeah, if you put the two things together, the fact that he's an insanely good cutter, and again, you can't do a cut like that if you're not good at it. It
Mhm.
doesn't happen by chance. You have to
Mhm.
see it. I mean, Terrence Ferguson was never able to do cuts like that.
No.
So I'm really, really impressed. The defense on Jabari was really interesting. I mean, Jabari is not the fastest guy, so maybe this is the exact type of player that Jalen is good at guarding.
Well, he's got no
But
handle
still,
too. Jabari
yeah,
just won't put the ball on the floor because he knows he's going to get stripped. Like he
yeah,
can't cross over anybody. He can't really handle. He can't really get to the hoop. And so I agree that I think we might be overrating Jalen defensively from that game
mhm,
because all you have to do is get up in his space and take away like any sort of airspace he has to create or to dribble, because he does have Jabari's got a couple moves off the dribble that he will
yeah,
do. And if you just take away his airspace right away, he can't get to them. And so he's
yeah.
either going to have to pass or try to shoot over you. And he tried to shoot over him once and he got a shot blocked, which was really fun to see. What I want to see out of JDub is, can he guard guys off the dribble? Like, can he guard a wing, like a good ball handling wing? That has
Like Levine.
Levine would be a great example of that. That's where, and people were kind of giving me crap because the other day I was like, I don't know if he can guard those kind of guys, but we haven't
Yeah.
seen him do that. And to his credit, he's going to be a player. And I said this, I think the night of the draft or the next few days, like he's going to play in a lot of different spots. I mean, they started him at the 4,
Yeah.
and it didn't hinder them at all. He's going to play 1 through 4 for the Thunder. I mean, that's what's going to happen, is that he can just plug in anywhere. He can play a role where he's on ball. He can play a role where he's off ball. He can play a role where he's a wing or he's, small ball 4. He can do a lot of things for you. And he, personality wise too, everybody is going to love this guy. He is such a great person and so polished. He's going to be a fan favorite, not only for his play on the court, but the way he relates to people off the court. This guy's incredible. You have to be excited as a Thunder fan to watch him play and say, oh my gosh, like what is he already, like the 5th or 6th best player on the team? And I think that there's room for upside for him too. Athletically, he's not a great athlete, but I think he's maybe a little bit better than we had anticipated, because he loves to dunk everything.
Yeah.
And he's so much fun to watch too, because he just likes to grab and just, pull the rim. Some guys just like to just throw it down and just be done.
Yeah.
He pulls on the
He's an
rim.
emphatic dunker.
It's so fun. He is so much fun. You have to just be ecstatic. And I can't remember who it was. I'd love to give them credit, but maybe it was Stephen Dolan that said something like, if we had just traded 3 picks for him and then taken Dieng at 12, the optics feel a little bit better around the draft, which I get. It probably would feel different. It'd be like, oh, of course they traded 3 picks to get this guy. He's amazing. So yeah.
Come on, Jay.
Oh,
You can't say that, Jay.
Jay Smith in here in the chat saying, quick 2022 redraft. Follow Chet, JDub. Yes. Maybe even JDub number 1. Who knows?
Yeah, I also think that these are like optics short term, but optics long term. You can probably go back and say, hey, Dieng was full of potential, and there were a lot of guys, so it was fine to. It's like the Poku one. Like it was okay to spend 2 picks on Poku. Now, if I say to you, hey, we we had like 2 picks for JRE, and I'm guarantee you now that JRE is a 10-year veteran. You would say,
Yeah.
come on, that's a horrible draft. So it's probably right to say, hey, I'm paying for the upside guy, and I don't. But Presti made it clear, like, yeah, we wanted to take both, and probably the reason why they didn't do as you mentioned is because New York really picked Dieng, and then they closed with a last minute offer. That may be a reason. Like New York said, okay, there are 2 teams that want Dieng. Let's take Dieng, and we will
you just have to think about it that they traded 3 most likely non-lottery picks so they could pick twice in the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit like the Paul George trade to the Clippers. It's really not like it at all, but it's a little bit like you get one because you're getting the other one too.
Yeah, it's a way to say, hey, this should feel good because we spend a lot of that for actually Kawhi and Paul George. But okay, she said, okay, no, you spent just for my player. So I am entitled to say no. It's just a PG trade. So the Knicks can say no, it's just really 1. You can say it was 2, but it's really 1. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited by what I saw from JDub. Now, the thing that I really like is the fact that you can see those things working. Now, I always say in summer league, you should focus on what that player was not being able to do, and it starts showing something about that, or just to see things that are that you can repeat. And the cutting, you can repeat. The positional defense, you can repeat. The spot up shooting, you can repeat. It's a little bit similar, like the opposite of what it was the summer league for Trey Young 5 years ago. He was horrible, but you could see the passing being there, and you just saw the shooting and say, okay, it's not working, but he's getting the shots off, and we know that he's a great shooter. So eventually, these numbers are really not interesting. Now, and you can say the same about Jabari. Like Jabari, those shots will go in. Rapstone is right about that, but the fact that he's not getting to the basket should be seen as, okay, we had that warning, and that warning is still very much there. The same with Chet. Like we had the warning that, hey, bulky player may have the better hand against him.
Yeah,
it's something that it's a question that is still lingering there. And with JDub, sorry, I just saw things that you can translate to a normal NBA game and say, yeah, I trust that to work.
Yeah. He's like a young Kenrich Williams with more upside.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And size, and more size, because that is important as well.
The length is a big deal. Yeah.
Shall we talk about the last comment and about Dieng? Because I think that we have to put some Dieng faith in our listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let you go because you're higher on Dieng than I am.
So I'm still on the, if you have to pick 2, just 1 could have been AJ Griffin. So I'm not saying that Dieng is better than AJ today because AJ didn't play a single second.
We haven't seen him play yet.
Exactly.
A shame. Yeah.
Yeah, and because Dieng didn't shine, but he was not afraid at all to take 3-point shots, and he was pretty quick in taking those, which is something that you have to keep in mind, because a part of the game is, hey, you really need to be able to take a shot in any case, and Dieng is pretty fast, which is something that I didn't necessarily expect to see. So being able to take those shots, already like good stuff, not a great one because he missed a bunch of them. Second, the Rockets game especially, he was able to create from the dribble, from the top of the key. That part of his game I really liked. There was a moment where he did a Euro in Utah, but it seems like something like just there by error. And instead, against the Rockets, he started to show a little bit more juice off the dribble, which is something that is part of the allure with Dieng. He's a good passer. He already threw like a few good passes, an alley-oop, like a couple of other stuff. But this is all gravy because the great part is the defense. I did not expect his defense to be that good that early. Now, you're probably scratching your head and saying, what is he talking about? Just look at the rotations. Like young guys will struggle mightily in two different stuff. One, stay in front of quicker guys. B, rotate when it's time. And Dieng can master that already. Like he made a few rotations where he was far away from his man. And as soon as he recognized that the ball was coming to him, he was able to close the gap and being in his back with the arm in his, like at the contact with his back immediately. Like it's these things are extremely important because if he'll be able to stay on the court defensively, I guarantee you Dagnall will give him minutes over other guys. So it's
without a doubt. I think that, I mean, he's shown that with Baisley that just defense gets you on the court. Yeah. And if he trusts you defensively, you will play. And I think that I can already confidently say I think that he's got just way more of an offensive game than Baisley does. I think that he's kind of everything that we've kind of thought about Poku and what he could be. I think Dieng might actualize that because he's already further along in his development than Poku was when Poku came to the Thunder. And I'm not saying like we should slam the book shut on Poku today, but Dieng is like this giant. I mean, I think he's legitimately 6'11". I think he's going to be 7 feet tall, like this 7-foot wing, ball handler, passer that can defend. And that's the thing that he's shown. And Poku's had some decent stretches of defense, but Dieng at 19, being able to slide his feet, using his length, using what athleticism he does have to stay in front of guys is pretty crucial. And I think that he'll play with the blue this year. I don't think that he's a guy that's going to dodge the blue because he's so good. I think that he needs reps. I think that's one thing that he needs once he gets to the NBA is let's get this guy on the court. Let him play. And there may be stretches even at the beginning or I don't know when, but he'll play for the blue. And it won't be, I don't think it's a bad thing for him in particular because he is the youngest guy on the team and he needs to just get experience. Yeah. I think you can't let him ride the bench. You can't let him be a player that just sits because you don't have the minutes for him. You need to let him play all year. And if they do that, I think that kind of investment will help him quite a bit. You know, there's a lot of people that believe in him. I talked to Mike Schmitz for a while about him, and Mike is like one of the best guys in the business.
Yep. And
Mike had so many good things to say about the kind of guy that Ousmane is and the kind of player that he thinks he can be. He absolutely loved what the Thunder did in the draft. Like Mike was just glowing about what the Thunder did. So it's going to take time with Dieng. You know, it's a part of his development though, is that he's young. He's still like obviously growing. But it's important to stay at least a little bit patient, but also knowing that Dieng's got some skills that will get him on the court this year in a context that like makes sense toward building a team that's going to win games. Not that they're going to win this year, but like down the road, I think he'll contribute to a winning environment.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And there are other guys that showcased a lot in these few summer league games. I mean, Aaron Wiggins looks like a very NBA ready guard.
I
And
almost talked about Aaron Wiggins off the top because he's been one of the guys that I've been most impressed with here in Vegas.
yeah, he's just stronger. You can see that he has work on his body quite a lot. He's like bigger than last season, definitely. The shot looks different. It's not as flat. I know that you mentioned that probably either on Twitter or on our group chat, but I completely agree with you.
Looks so much better. It looks so much better. That's the thing. That to me was the thing with him, because he's a good defender. He knows how to play. Like, you can just watch him say, like, this guy knows how to play basketball. But the shot was just, that's going to be it. It's going to determine if he's a 3-year pro or a 13-year pro.
Yeah.
And the shot looks really good. I was talking to, who was I talking to? Somebody that I think they work for a team, but talking about Wiggins and how he was actually a pretty good shooter his freshman year at Maryland.
Yeah.
And then his shooting kind of regressed as his time went on there. And now they're like, yeah, this actually looks like his shooting did, because he became a better basketball player as he went on. His shot just kind of faded some. But he said now he's kind of putting it all back together, where the shot looks really good. There's been a lot of people that have been very impressed with Aaron Wiggins, even though he's like the 4th or 5th most interesting guy on this Thunder team, maybe even further down the list. But he's a guy that people are talking about here in Vegas as someone that, has been looking good, like looking like an NBA wing, looking like somebody that can really contribute to a roster. And it's a great problem to have, but the roster crunch it gets even more complicated, because he's a guy that I don't think that we baked in when we talked about, here's like the roster crunch with minutes and with, who's going to make the team. And it also, like, Lindy Waters looks all right too.
Yeah.
They're just doing too good of a job developing these guys at some rate, where one of those guys is going to be let go. Maybe not now, but down the road, one of these guys is going to be good, whether it's Lindy or Aaron or whoever it is. And you have to let good players go whenever you're bringing in players that are better. It's just interesting. And, Wiggins makes things just like a tinge more complicated, but a tinge better for the Thunder.
Yeah. And again, I know that in our mind, every player, we make a connection. And so it's sad to see Steven going. But even think about Steven. He went away, 3 seasons ago? It was a sore moment, but also, it's okay. You can still enjoy when you see him on the court. So okay, maybe next year you will see Aaron Wiggins being just too good to be left off of the court, and then maybe you go to Kenrich and say, hey, nice having you here, but this guy is better, and we just don't have space for you. We feel that we are wasting your career. So let's find you. And I'm using Kenrich because I think that he's beloved and he's a player that, makes sense in any team. So you can make right to him, putting him in the best place for his career, and maybe he will blossom in another team. But this is life in the NBA. You want Wiggins to be good. You just don't want to have Theo Maledon being okay, you can cut him. No, that you never want that. You always want to have the problem, because if you have the problem, maybe you can get a second rounder for a guy like Baisley or Vit Krejci or Theo Maledon or Aaron Wiggins. Maybe a first for Kenrich. So that seems too much today. But it's at
the deadline it might not be, and they're going to have to make a decision on a guy like Kenrich, who I don't know what they're going to do with him in the rotation. Because you do have a lot of young guys that deserve playing time, that deserve to have a chance to be on the court, and Wiggins is one of them. And you kind of are collecting players that do similar things to Kenrich and JDub and Wiggins. They kind of fill a similar space on the court. you can never have too many of those guys, though. You know, once you're competitive, and I feel like way more confident that Kenrich could contribute to like winning right away, more so than both of those guys, because they need to be put to the test. But he's also not a bad guy to have around to like, hey, let me show you guys how to do this over the course of 82 games, because it's a hard thing to do, to stay locked in. And Kenrich, like, just don't underestimate Kenrich being around. I mean, he's someone that I think sets the tone for how these guys play and how they handle themselves in the locker room and how they conduct themselves. So I think that he's almost like an assistant coach to a degree, but obviously a guy that can play still. And he just generally helps on the court too. I think early on you're going to want to get him out there with Chet and with JDub and with I do think down the road though you're going to have to make a decision, but right away he's somebody that helps. He helped Poku a lot last year.
Yeah.
You know, play passable basketball. Yeah. Just because he's out there on the court telling him where to be and how to rotate, and that kind of stuff is important whenever you have a team full of 19 and 20-year-old guys. Yeah,
and again, I mentioned Kenrich to make it like the worst possible scenario in terms of beloved guy that goes away. I feel the same. I feel that he has a role, and like you can say JRE, you can say even Trey Mann is not guaranteed to be in the long-term process of the league because of the team, because if Dieng and Dort and JDub, they all blossom into incredible players that you have to play 25 or more.
Yeah.
What it's Trey Mann at 5 minutes of the bench. So the roster will change a lot. I mean, think about the first version of OKC. I mean, there were top 5 pick that went away just to shuffle things around.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, this year is going to be probably an easy process. I mean, if the 2 veterans plus Krejci, Maledon, and Ty Jerome go away and you remain with everyone else, that's fine. I mean, it's easy. You can choose between Krejci and another guy, but it doesn't make really a difference in the grand scheme of things. So this year it's easy. And if you can develop like players maybe playing 50, 60 games each, and you have part of the seasons where you play more and part of the season where you play less, that is a way to do it. Maybe next year there will be like decision time for a lot of these guys, and it might just be pecking order. Like maybe Jerry doesn't see the court because he has like great players ahead of him. It's not. Everything is possible, and the fact that we see guys like JDub playing and say, I kind of like the look of it in 2 spots. That is a great news, and I'm really excited to see another game tonight because it's more discovery season. So it's going to be a very, very interesting summer after Summer League, because it's I mean, we can just let our minds go and dream about what it is going to be when Shea plays with these guys. Because the reality is, you can say, Chet was passive, but you can also say, hey, Giddey didn't really create a good pick and pop option for him in any of his possessions.
No, like they didn't really work together. It was, and that's kind of Summer League though. Is that people forget that Summer League is one-on-one defense, one-on-one offense, and there's not a lot of actions being created. Like, you forget that, like, it's not like the NBA coaches that are coaching these teams. It's assistant coaches, it's development coaches. In the case of Cam Woods, like, he's a player development coach. Speaking of Cam Woods, we got to talk to him the other day. I got to kind of speak to him a little bit away from the group too. He's incredible. I really like him. great guy. I think he's doing a good job. His story is just kind of fascinating. I don't know how many people know how he got kind of brought into the Thunder, but Cam played for the Oklahoma City Blue for a long time and played for Mark with the Blue, which is just kind of crazy to think about. And then Cam became like an assistant coach for the Blue, got brought up to the Thunder, and now he's coaching the summer league team and as a player development coach on the Thunder. And he just kind of spoke to me about how much they invest not only in the development of players, but in the development of coaches and the development of people within the organization, which I think is pretty rare. It's just so interesting because when you think about the G League, I think you just think about players and you think about discovering players like Lindy, or you think about sending down your first round picks or your second round picks to get them experience there. But I mean, you are seeing the Thunder use the G League to affect their entire organization. I mean, you have Mark Daigneault, for crying out loud, as your head coach, who was brought into the G League. And I mean, that was Mark's first head coaching job, period. Like, that's what was coaching the Blue, was his first head coaching job. And then Cam Woods is another one. Cam is a giant too. I think he's like 6'9". So it's kind of funny talking to him as the coach, where I'm just like looking up at him. But he's a great dude. I did want to talk about Trey Mann a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts. To me, it looks Trey is such a rhythm guy, and like that's so obvious whenever you watch him, especially when you watch him like against the Heat when he had the 20-point quarter and did the same thing against the Celtics. He's just so like rhythm based, and it feels like he's got no rhythm right now. I don't know if that's him being sick and then like trying to get back from that. I don't know what it is, but to me, he just appears to not have his rhythm. And I'm not worried. It doesn't like concern me, but just when I watch him, like, oh, like he's losing his handle on a crossover. Like that's not him. There's just something that's just a little bit off with him. And it doesn't concern me, but I do think that it's something to monitor.
Yeah, it's something to monitor. It's something that if it lasts through preseasons, that I would be extremely surprised about. I'm miffed. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I wanted to see Trey cooking, but it's not what we get to see, and it's fine. I mean, it's again. When he had a good in rhythm catch and shoot three, it was all butter. So I'm not worried by any stretch of imagination. Again, I'm more miffed that I expected him to roast Summer League because he definitely can, and he's not doing it. But it doesn't change the projection on him. I think that if he puts together his ceiling, he's an incredible scorer. Like just incredible, because he can get a shot against anyone. And so defensively, he was clearly not interested in playing any defense. He was really playing like touch defense, like, I'm here, I'm touching the guy, but oh no, he's no longer here. Sorry. He's playing like that defensively, which is fine. So it's TBD on Trey Mann. We'll see. Like tonight, he can go for 45. Like he can just, if Giddey is not there for some reason, or the first game that he plays and Giddey doesn't, I fully expect him taking 28 shots. And
I'd love to see that. I would love to see Chet set a screen for him. And
no, I think that Chet will play as long as Giddey plays.
That's possible. I don't know. I don't know what the
I want to see JDub screening for Trey Mann and see what happens.
I think that JDub would be very willing to do that. Hoopstock69 in here trying to rile me up. He said, I want the Thunder to get a star player that isn't a good interview or a great guy, just to see Andrew's head explode. Andrew's
head didn't explode in 2012, 13, 14, 16, 15. I missed some in the number. Like, Come on, that's
I'm talking about Russell
ours.
Westbrook.
How dare you? I was talking.
The thing is, and I was talking to somebody from another team about this yesterday, that the Thunder care so much about the quality of the person,
Yeah.
and that literally every single guy on the team is like a good person. And like that is not just bias coming from somebody that like sees the team and talks to them and whatever, and they may be just showing me like the best side of them. That comes from other teams that are interviewing these guys. And they're like, man, like the Thunder just have quality people from top to bottom. And it's clearly something that they care about. It's clearly something that they're doing intentionally. And not that it matters that these guys are great people, you know, to like our podcast or whatever. But I do think that it matters in terms of chemistry, in terms of bringing in young people to a group that feels like a group and doesn't feel like it's already got this hierarchy within it. Because I don't necessarily think that they treat Josh and Shea and those guys all that differently from the other guys. Like they're just part of the group. They're just one of the guys. And I think that that's pretty important to what the Thunder are building. So anything that you're looking for in this Paolo matchup?
I want to see if Chet takes the assignment. I think it will, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That is something that I'm really curious of. If he's not Chet, then I wonder if JDub takes another crack at it, just starting at the 4 and see. I want to answer
Jeremiah starting in this game just to play against Paolo. Just because
boring. I don't want to see that.
Dude, he is so impressive just how big he is, like his shoulders alone, and how like he is one of like Namias Keita is probably like the only other guy here that you're like when you see them step on the court, you're just like, whoa. So I think that you need somebody with a bigger body, like a bigger barreled chest, like JRE. By the way, JRE is in great shape. Like he looks really, really good.
Yes. Still boring. I don't want to see him. I already know how he defends. He will be great. I don't want to see that. It's I know that Paolo is huge. That's why I want to see either Chet or JDub taking their turn and see. If they are overwhelmed, that's a good data point. If somehow Paolo put the shoulder on JDub and he doesn't flinch, that is a great data point to have. I just want to see that. I also want to briefly answer Alex Bowlerjack question. Mm-hmm. He asks, legitimately curious why Giddey is playing. I think it's because he loves to play.
Yes, he wants to play.
He wants to play at all times. Now, I think the next year he will be grounded, so there will be no chance for him to play in Summer League. Mm-hmm. Probably this year said, okay, what if you play a couple of games in Utah just to feel out? Yeah, sure. Now I'm playing every game that I want. Kind of thing.
It is legitimately. I mean, we didn't know if he was going to play the other night, and he just ran out the tunnel wearing his warm-ups. Like, I guess Giddey's going to play.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't play tonight, but I'd be a little surprised if he didn't. I think there's just a part of him that wants to, and I don't know that this is for a fact, but I can imagine that last year's experience is part of why, where he gets hurt in the first 5 minutes and doesn't get to showcase anything he can do. And people like watching him here in Vegas. Like the crowd gets up for him and he loves that. You know, when he has a crazy pass or a spin move or has a dunk and the crowd goes wild, like he is eating that up.
Yeah,
You know, he can,
and there was also a part of him that says, "Hey, I am younger than Paolo, Chet, Jabari, Jaden Ivey, and I'm so much better than anyone else."
Yeah.
Like,
I know. It's wild that he's younger than Chet,
yeah.
and he's.
I'm not sure he's younger than Paolo and Jabari though.
I
Maybe
don't think
Jabari not.
he's not. He's definitely not younger than Jabari. He and Paolo are, I think, about at the same age.
Yeah,
But-
that's right.
He just is so smart. He just has this baseline, has this floor that's just elevated from almost everybody.
Yeah.
And he's got to figure some stuff out, but his handle's gotten better. And we're going to go here in a second, but his handle's gotten better. He's definitely stronger than he was last year.
Yeah.
Those two things, like, those are really great stepping stones. I know that we'd love to see the shot be the one that steps forward, but he's able to get past guys in a way that he didn't last year, and able to get to the rim in ways that he didn't last year.
The ring.
Get to the ring. That's right.
Okay.
Get to the ring. Thanks so much for listening to our show. This will be our last podcast in Vegas. Actually, maybe not. But we'll see. Thank you so much for listening to our show. Please follow us on Twitter at Down to Dunk. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you want a Chet shirt, go to our Twitter account at Down to Dunk, and you can pre-order that today. We're going to lock these down. You won't be able to get them. So if you want one of our Chet shirts and one of our Thunder U shirts, we're printing like high quality shirts. Taylor Dickerson is getting those printed for us, and they're high quality, just beautiful shirts. If you want one, you need to go order it today. This is Monday, July 11th. Go order it today, because you're not going to be able to get them after this. You may never be able to get them again, just based on the fact that anytime that we print a shirt about a player, their agent likes to send us little notices that we can't print those shirts anymore. So please go do that today. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will talk to you guys again on Wednesday.